For thousands of years, humanity has faced the same inevitable question. What happens to our bodies after we die? From burial in the earth to cremation by fire, from elaborate tombs to the simplest graves, cultures across the world have created rituals to honor the dead. But now, in a time of climate crisis, environmental destruction, and a search for sustainable solutions, a new answer has emerged. It is revolutionary, controversial, and deeply intimate, transforming human remains into soil, not ashes, not coffins, soil, living, breathing earth. The process may sound shocking at first, but imagine the alternative. Traditional burial often involves embalming fluid, chemicals like formaldehyde that seep into the soil, contaminating groundwater. A coffin requires wood and metal, harvested and manufactured with environmental cost. A cemetery demands land, endless acres of it, locked away forever beneath manicured grass. And cremation, often seen as the clean option, burns fossil fuels and releases carbon dioxide and mercury into the air. One cremation alone can produce as much CO2 as driving hundreds of miles in a car. When multiplied by millions of deaths every year, the environmental toll is staggering. But what if death itself could give back to the planet? What if our final act could be one of renewal, of nourishment, of life? That is the vision behind human composting. And to truly understand it, we must walk inside the process itself. A steel cylinder, large enough to hold a body, sealed yet breathable, designed for nature to do its work. A body is carefully laid inside, placed on a bed of organic materials, wood chips, straw, alfalfa. Around it, more natural matter is added, creating the perfect environment for microbes to thrive. Oxygen is introduced, moisture is controlled, and then the most powerful force of all takes over: time. Within days, the body begins to break down, not by chemicals, not by artificial machines, but by the same natural decomposition that has always returned living matter to the earth. Microbes, tiny, invisible workers, consume tissue, organs, muscle, and skin. The temperature inside the vessel rises naturally, reaching levels that kill harmful pathogens, leaving behind only safe, clean material. Bones are softened and broken down, reduced to fragments, then integrated into the soil. After several weeks, the transformation is complete. The body that once lived, breathed, and spoke is now rich, dark earth. It is soil that can nourish trees, feed gardens, restore forests. One human body can create a cubic yard of soil, enough to fill the bed of a pickup truck. The soil is not waste. It is not discarded. Families may choose to take it home, to scatter it in a beloved place, to grow a tree, to enrich a garden. Or it may be donated to conservation projects, returning life to damaged ecosystems. In every case, the message is the same. Death is not the end. It is a transformation. The idea may seem radical, but it is not without precedent. For centuries, farmers have composted animals after death, returning their bodies to the earth in safe, controlled ways. The science of composting is well established, proven, and trusted. What is new is applying this ancient cycle to human beings, embracing the truth that we too are part of nature's circle. But how did this become possible? In 2019, Washington State became the first jurisdiction in the world to legalize human composting. The move sparked both fascination and controversy. Since then, other U.S. states like Colorado, Oregon, Vermont, New York, and California have followed. Each legalization was met with debates. Religious leaders questioned its morality, environmentalists championed its promise, and families considered whether they could accept such an intimate return to Earth. The founder of one pioneering company described it simply: "We wanted to give people another choice. A choice that is gentle to the planet, a choice that feels natural." Families who have chosen this method often speak of peace, of continuity, of comfort in knowing that their loved one is not sealed away in concrete or burned into smoke, but instead has become part of the living world. Yet not everyone agrees. For some, the idea is unsettling, even disturbing. In Catholic tradition, cremation was once forbidden, only later accepted under specific guidelines. The Vatican has expressed opposition to human composting, calling it incompatible with the dignity of the human body. In Islamic tradition, burial is considered sacred, and composting would not align with religious law. Many Jewish communities also maintain strict burial practices that would not allow this. For billions around the world, faith dictates how the body must be treated after death, and composting challenges centuries of belief. But in secular societies, or among those who value environmental sustainability above tradition, composting offers something profound. Consider this. Every year in the United States alone, burials use over 30 million board feet of hardwood, 90,000 tons of steel, and 1.6 million tons of concrete. Embalming fluid, millions of gallons of it, seeps into the ground. Cremation, chosen by over half of Americans today, releases 250,000 tons of CO2 annually. Against this backdrop, human composting looks less like a curiosity and more like a necessity. Environmentalists argue that this practice is not only sustainable but restorative. Imagine if every city had facilities where the dead became soil for urban forests, for public gardens, for rewilding projects. Imagine land once lost to cemeteries instead becoming living ecosystems. Imagine reducing carbon emissions, chemical waste, and land use, all by changing how we think about death. The question, however, is not only scientific or environmental, it is deeply emotional. For families, death is not an abstract issue, it is the most personal of experiences. To consider composting is to confront cultural taboos, to reshape the rituals that bring closure, to redefine how we say goodbye. Some may feel that turning a body into soil is too impersonal, too industrial. Others may feel it is the most natural act of all, the truest return to the cycle of life. One family described their choice: a mother who loved gardening, who spent her life planting and nurturing flowers. When she passed away, her children chose composting. Weeks later, they spread her soil in her garden, where new plants were already growing. They described it not as loss, but as continuation. Every bloom, every leaf, felt like part of her living on. This is the power of narrative. In every death, there is grief. But in composting, there is also creation. Out of stillness comes growth. Out of silence comes renewal. Out of death, life. Looking ahead, human composting may not remain limited to a few states in America. Other countries are watching closely. Lawmakers in Europe, Canada, and beyond are debating. The industry of death care, once unchanging for centuries, is now facing disruption. Just as cremation once transformed cultural norms, composting may become the next revolution. But questions remain. How will societies adapt? Will religions soften their stance or harden against it? Will people embrace the soil of their loved ones or resist the intimacy of that transformation? Will governments regulate it strictly or allow it to expand freely? The answers will shape the future of death itself. In the end, the practice forces us to confront the deepest truth: we are not separate from nature. For too long, we have hidden death away, sealed it in boxes, burned it to ash, distanced ourselves from its reality. Human composting breaks that wall. It reminds us that we are earth, we are soil, we are part of a cycle that has always existed and always will. So picture again that vessel, silent and still. Inside, the body of a loved one rests, surrounded by wood chips and straw. Days pass. Weeks pass. And then, the moment arrives. The vessel is opened. What was once human form has now become